Hello and welcome to Jazz Across the Pond, Jazz Interviewing Reimagined, a brand new and a very exciting bringing together of two great nations. It's jazz talking like you've never seen or heard it before. Let's bring on my partner in crime. Well, welcome to Jazz Across the Pond from me, Roger Lee, aka the Jazz Cat.
And I'm Kevin Goolsby, and they call me Mr. G.
Mr. G, the Cagney to my Lacey. Oh, I'll tell you what, I feel quite old just saying that, I really do.
Well, that may be true, Roger, but think about it this way. We're like two bottles of good red wine. We just get better with age.
Oh, I'll tell you what.
How about that?
I'll drink for that.
Yeah, but you got white wine tonight, not red, so it doesn't work.
Yeah, I didn't want to spill it on the shirt. Anyway, good to see you again, my friend.
Good to see you.
So, come on, let's very quickly. How do we very quickly summarize last week's interview?
Well, I guess speaking of red wines getting better with age, I'd have to say that last week's guest, Mr. Jason Miles, his two most recent projects have been outstanding. Not that the prior ones weren't, but like a good bottle of red wine, he's just getting better and better. It's a 2015 project, Kind of New, with Ingrid Jensen, and then his 2020 project, Black Magic. They're both incredible. And if you haven't heard these projects featured on my show, The Smooth Jazz Train, or on Roger's show, Jazz Moods, you've got a lot of catching up to do.
He certainly have. What I mean, that guy. I mean, he's talking about he's writing his autobiography. I mean, what a book! In there will be the who's who, including Michael Jackson, Whitney Houston, George Benson, Aretha Franklin, Miles Davis. I mean, the list goes on and on. I mean, what a man. I mean, some of the CDs behind me, if I were to randomly put one out, invariably it would have produced or directed by Jason Miles or played the keyboard on it. I mean, the man is amazing. So I totally agree. And it's an interview on YouTube, well worth revisiting and watching, because you may not have heard his name, but you have.
Yeah, my only concern is that he's writing his own autobiography. It's so vast, he's going to lose 2 years of his life writing it.
Yeah, exactly.
So how do you account for those last 2 years of his life? I don't know.
Yeah, absolutely. Anyway, viewers of Jazz Across the Pond, definitely make sure you watch that one. Amongst others, they're all on there. All the back catalogue are all there, and there's some great artists. There really are. And we're not going to tempt you and tease you now, but Kevin and myself have been working very, very hard behind the scenes, securing some amazing acts, not only solo artists, but we're trying to get some bands on here with us as well from both sides of the pond. And I'll tell you, we're not going to let anything out the cat out of the bag at the moment now, but boy, we have been working hard to get some major names join us. Isn't that right, Kevin?
I'm pretty excited about it too. And obviously we don't want to let the jazz cat out of the bag, but we do have some incredible artists lined up, and if we were to tell them now, they'd be so excited they'd miss the first half of the show. So
absolutely. So let's go back to tonight. We've got a lovely lady joining us tonight, all the way from California. So with the time difference, I'm about 8 hours in front, you're about 3 hours in front of us. So I mean, this is going to be, but with technology, it will be no problem.
Well, I tell you, as good as she is, you and I need that head start. We need to be 3 and 5 and 8 hours ahead of her. So
okay, without further ado, she's in the waiting room. Let's bring her on.
Hey, what's up, everyone? This is saxophonist Jeanette Harris from California, and you're watching me on Jazz Across the Pond with the Jazz Cat and Mr. G. I hope you enjoy it.
So tonight's very, very special guest is coming in and dialing in and phoning in, and all the way from the wonderful California. She's she's delectable, she's delightful, she's lovely, she's adorable, she's captivating, charming. Is there any more superlatives that we could actually use? No, I don't think so.
No.
I think so.
She's a special guest, basically described as a scintillating, very talented saxtress out of smooth jazz world. Ladies and gentlemen, we warmly welcome the wonderful Jeanette Harris.
Yay.
As the audience go mad.
Yes, I do.
Welcome to our show, Jeanette.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me, by the way. That's cool.
No problems at all. It's been a delight, and we love your music, and we got a lot to get through. So let's crack on with it. So Jeanette Harris was born and raised in California, raised by her mother, Annette, and her church organist father, Floyd Harris, both spiritual faith and intense believers in the art of music. Jeanette and her older brother, Michael, received their love of God and family values. Now, our research team, we've got a really good research team on both sides of the Atlantic, and they do a lot of homework behind the scenes before we go live. And if we've done our homework, are we right in saying that you were about 5 years old when your father put a guitar in your hands? A year later, at the tender age of 6, you then switched to piano with private teacher. Now, we need to find out. Tell us more about your childhood and your introduction into music, please.
So my parents, should I say, really wanted their children to basically be deep in music. And they were very supportive, and they just wanted to give us something to do because they didn't want us out on the street getting in trouble. So we decided, let's go ahead and do like this family band and do some church stuff, a lot of positive things together as a family. So that was very important for my father in particular, because he is a musician. My mom is just a supporting person that kind of cheered us on, but she doesn't really play anything. But my father really wanted, his children to go ahead and play music, and we wanted to be able to do stuff together as a family. So he did put a guitar in my hand at the tender age of 5. And I think the guitar was larger than I was, so I'm sitting here like, what do I do with this?
How do I reach around it?
Yeah, like, what do I do? I'm like sitting here like that. And it was a lot of fun. Like, it was a challenge, but it was fun. And I got to spend time with my dad. He was my hero. He is still my hero. So it was just a really good, memory that I have with my father in particular, because he really wanted us to, get into the music and didn't want us on the street getting into trouble. So that was really cool of my parents. And then, of course, my mom, she loves piano. So she said, well, I want Jeanette to also play piano. So they hooked me up with a really great private teacher, and I became pretty good very fast. And I just loved guitar and the piano, but I found myself leaning more towards the piano at that point. So yeah, between the age of maybe 5 and 8, I was playing guitar and piano pretty well.
Well, and that brings us to the next part of your life, and that at those tender ages. So when you were in 4th grade, your mom was driving you home when she pops a Grover Washington Jr. cassette into the tape player. Now, tell us about hearing Grover and how his style and tone in phrasing may have inspired you to ask your parents for that alto saxophone.
I was young, but I really, really I loved the sound. It was something about the sound that it was soulful. It was different than other maybe saxophonists or, instruments that I've heard. Grover was every note he played was just like, he meant business with that note, And as a young child, I really, really felt it through my body. I feel like I'm a very spiritual person, so I feel a lot of people's, when good things happen, I'm so excited. If there's emotional things that's happening, I'm very emotional, and I'm a crybaby at the same. So I just felt something that Grover was playing. And I also liked the look of the actual instrument. When I actually got to see what he was playing, I was like, wow, that is hot. So the look actually had a lot to do with it too.
Well, that's understandable. And I guess, having said that, so now you were in 4th grade. That would mean you were about 10 years old, right?
About 10, yes, that's correct. Yeah.
I'm curious if the tape that you heard, and this is a stab in the dark, by any chance, was it one of 2 projects? Because I'm thinking about when you said that, what projects at about that time would Grover be holding a saxophone or have it in the shot? So by any chance, was it, don't answer till I ask both. You ready? Was it Strawberry Moon? Was it Strawberry Moon, or was it Then and Now, or was it something else?
I believe it was Strawberry Moon. I believe it was Strawberry Moon. Yeah.
All right,
so
now here's
that's a good guess. I believe it was. Yeah.
good guess. Good guess. So
Yeah.
here's why I was hoping that was true, because that project also had Marcus Miller on it,
Yeah.
B.B. King,
Yeah.
and our guest from last week, Jason Miles, on it.
Oh wow. Yeah.
And I had a little bet with Roger that I said it had to have been, because
Yeah.
your mom and I are probably about the same age. She might be a little
Right.
a little younger. So I was thinking, what was I listening to when you were 10? And I had to do some
Right.
advanced math, but I figured out she must have had either something from 87 or 88. And when I looked at those covers, I went, it's got to be Strawberry Moon.
You are a good investigator.
We do our homework, girlfriend. We do our homework.
I love it. I love it.
All right, so now,
Yeah.
let's take it a little further. So now when you get to high school, you make the jazz band, the Latin band, and the marching band.
Yeah.
And I made marching band and concert band when I was in high school, just like you.
Cool.
But for you, the band director actually arranged a very successful audition with the Fresno State College Jazz Band, and you get
Yes.
invited to join the ensemble, even though you're still in high school.
Yes.
That's pretty amazing. Now, ultimately, you wind up getting a scholarship to attend the world preeminent college for the study of contemporary popular and jazz music, the Berklee College of Music in Boston, where you earned your Bachelor of Arts degree in music performance. Now, for our international audience who may not be quite familiar with your old school, here's a few distinctive alumni of Berklee College, other than yourself, which you are definitely a distinguished alumni, but
Thank
Quincy
you.
Jones, Keith Jarrett, Joe Satriani, who was the first artist to follow me on Twitter, by the way,
Oh, wow.
Diana Krall, Donald Fagan, now watch Roger get excited, Joe Walsh, Roy Hargrove, oh my gosh, Al
Oh, yeah.
Miola, and Ingrid Jensen, just to mention a few.
Yeah.
So that brings me to my next question, just to set it all up. So if Grover Washington Jr. was your spark at age 10, were there any notable classmates when you were on campus or any alumni from Berklee that fanned your jazz flame?
So Layla Hathaway also went to Berklee right before I did. I think she graduated a few years before I did. So we actually weren't there together, but I am a big fan of Layla Hathaway.
Oh gosh, yes.
Walter, yeah, she's amazing. Walter Beasley was actually a professor there, so that was kind of cool. Bill Pierce, these are some names. He was another professor that I was excited to work with. He does a lot more traditional jazz. Walter Beasley is a more contemporary. I love all of it. So, I was just like taking it all in. I'm like, yeah. We also had John Mayer, who's a popular pop singer. It was just so many. David Dyson, an amazing bassist that I used. He's going to be on my new CD. So it was just a lot. Elon Trotman. There's just so many more. Yeah. We actually were there together.
Did you ever have any classes with Walter Beasley?
I did. I actually had a couple of classes with them. Like you could set up private lessons. So I was able to get a couple of private lessons at Berklee with Walter Beasley, which was really, really, really fun. He was so nice. He was nice and supportive.
He must be thinking, now look at you now, right? All right, Roger, take it away, buddy.
Oh, amazing. What a catalog of names. Incredible. So back in Fresno, you recorded your first self-titled release CD, Here and There. You grabbed your brother Michael to play drums. I bet he didn't argue very much. He went, yeah, go on, sis, I'll do that. And Patrick Olvera on bass. You began building up and following on a regular picking and playing at a place called Mike's. Now, we really have done our work at Mike's Pub and Pizzeria. I'm not going to do a pun that they give you a flat rate, because that's corny and it's not very funny. But we want to know more about this place you were working at. I mean, how many nights was it? What type of music was it? And what sort of clientele were coming in?
So after I graduated Berklee College of Music, I went back to Fresno, as you mentioned, to start trying to get my music career going. It wasn't very easy. I mean, I would go to certain restaurants and clubs, and they were just like, I think they just saw this young person, and maybe I wasn't the best networking person at that time to really tell them, hey, you got to do this. I'm really good, So one day I kind of came across a place called Mike's Pub and Pizzeria. A friend of mine was playing keyboards there, Steve Lopez.
Oh, wow.
And he said, just maybe stop by, check it out, come eat some pizza, And one day he was like, just, bring your sax, let's just jam, And the owner was like, yeah, sure, because the owner wasn't getting a lot of traction there. It was in a weird spot. So we started just right there. And my brother, one day he brought his drums, and we it wasn't big, so we couldn't play extremely loud, but we were having fun. And then Patrick Alvera, one day he brought his bass, and we all of a sudden we had this gig at Mike's Pub and Pizzeria that just happened. It just, I don't even know. So the owner was so loving it because we were starting to bring people in. People were like, what is that? So he started to allow us to put on our own show. And so one day we said, let's do a big show. Let's get some family and friends and invite everyone. Let's dress up nice. Let's make this like a big, real show. Wow. And we did. And I tell you what, we sold it out. I mean, the place was packed. We had to turn away people. And that was kind of the kickoff to my journey to, performing live shows and starting to understand what it will take to go out and get more shows. You have to network, you have to build your fan base, and that was a clever way to do it. So all of a sudden, we got invited, which I don't want to get too far ahead because you may mention that. Yeah. So we got invited to be able to perform at a large festival in Fresno, which was the Coombs Riverbend Ranch Festival. And that was the first festival I ever performed at. And it was because I started jamming at Mike's Pub and Pizzeria. So
there you go. Got to start somewhere, right?
You got to start somewhere and not be too proud. Yes.
So is it put you off pizzas for life? Is it?
Yeah.
Well, and the other life lesson is not to eat pizza before you blow the sax too. That pepperoni can be a little rough on the old reed.
I never eat before I play. I eat
That's
after.
right.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Really.
So from there, you moved on, you recorded your first official debut album, Reflections. It was followed by Smooth Holiday Greetings. And your family, it was at J&M's Records, which is Jeanette and Michael's initials. Very clever. I like that. That was clever. And your mum and dad, bless them, they funded that. And you went on, and we want to know more about that. Just tell us more about, great parent support on that one there. And also you can admire us for all the homework we've done here.
I love it. You guys are on it today. Oh my gosh. So yeah, J&M Records, after I got started, it was like, okay, now I'm getting some shows. I'm starting to go to San Francisco, LA, performing at some of these pretty nice clubs. Now I need to put a CD together. I need to get some product out. And of course, all artists want a big record company, and we were like, oh, let's try to get a deal. We weren't able to get deals. So my parents said, well, why don't we just start at a record company for you? And I said, it's pretty cool because a lot of parents actually don't support their children for, trying to make music like something that they do as a living. So to have my parents
go get a real job,
Yeah, go get a real job. Go be a lawyer, a doctor, anything but a musician. Right. So to have parents who were like, no, let's do this. You are good. They believed in me. They believed in my brother Mike. Let's go. So they funded. We literally bought everything that you would need to put, a CD together, and with the budget we had at the time. And it actually worked out. I was able to do it. And the reason why I love that story is it's like, don't give up,
Right.
And just keep going. Even if my parents maybe didn't help me, there would have been something that if I kept going, it would have worked itself out, because I believed in myself as well. So I was very blessed to be able to have such supportive parents, and still blessed today to have supportive parents who support me even to this day. Financially, they don't have to support me, but now they support me by cheering me on. So it's really good.
You are so very, very, very true, very fortunate. When I was at school, and I went to school, and my parents said to me, they said, when you get home, you won't recognize the old house. And when I got home, they'd moved. So, but that's another. Kevin,
okay, so moving on. So Jeanette, so that's actually a true story, Jeanette. That's not a joke.
Okay.
So Jeanette, you had a wonderful cover of Stevie Wonder's "All I Do" on your 2012 project Saxophone, which climbed nicely on the Billboard Smooth Jazz charts, I might mention. And so congratulations on that great cover, and also with Saxophone. But what was it about Stevie's "All I Do" that spoke to you? I mean, when it was recorded, you were only 2 years old.
Yeah, I was very young. But you know what? I'm just a huge fan of Stevie Wonder. Like, I literally love all of his songs. And
so your mama didn't play that in the car? No? Okay.
Not much, no. I think that was a song that I just, when I was in college, just kind of fell in love with. And I started hearing it. I know Kirk Whalum, I believe, had a rendition of it, or he redid it. I really enjoyed that one. I said, you know what, I want to do it myself, because I love the melody. It's something special about the lyrics. All I do is think of you. Yeah.
The lyrics are incredible. I mean, my favorite segment was when he says, "I light a candle every day and pray that you will always feel this way, and pray that our love will always be new." And isn't that what we all want? I mean, really?
Yeah.
That song spoke to me too, but
yeah.
But anyway, so previously you also spoke about influences and said that saxophonist Richard Elliott brought a serious R&B groove to the genre at a time when smooth jazz really needed that touch of R&B and a little funk too. So if you would share with us your thoughts as a performer, composer, and producer about how important it is, and it is, I believe, for smooth jazz musicians to incorporate elements of R&B, soul, funk, fusion, gospel, Latin, global music, whatever it might be, into their sound.
Well, I think it's important because we have to, as time goes, I mean, there was Ray Charles at one point, and, and then you go further along, then you have the Stevie Wonder. So you have to kind of go with what's going on in the world, and you can't just stay in that one, okay, I'm gonna just play the Ray Charles music. It's gonna always be great, but now we've moved forward. So let's move forward with the times. And, even if you're not like really a big fan of what's going on or what you're hearing, you could always find creative ways to make it work for you. And I just felt like Richard Elliott, I was very young, but I could relate to the beat. I could relate to the groove. Richard Elliott was just flowing over it. I was like, oh, this is something I would listen to, because I was obviously listening to hip hop. I was listening to rock. So I just felt like, man, this is cool. This is cool. And I kept playing. I pulled out my sax, played along with it. And I was just like, oh, this is hot, So I think if people want to get younger people involved and interested, pull some of the stuff out that they like to listen to,
Excellent. We're consciously aware of time. We've got 15 minutes left of the interview, and there's still so much to get through. We're going to take a quick break from this interview now to play a track from your stunning album. And I do use the word, it is a stunning album. It's Summer Rain. Ladies and gentlemen, you're watching the wonderful Jeanette Harris. We got Mr. G sat in the corner up there, and that we're having it's Jazz Across the Pond. We'll be back in 2 minutes' time. We're going to play a fabulous track called 1257 featuring Marcus Anderson, and we'll be straight back with you any moment.
Welcome back to Jazz Across the Pond, Jazz Interviews Reimagined with the Jazz Cat and Mr. G. You've been listening to our wonderful guest, Ms. Jeanette Harris, performing 1257 featuring Marcus Anderson from her 2013 project, Summer Rain, a great track and a solid project. Jeanette, one of the things I wanted to ask you was, I've been playing your music since 2011 on my show. And
Wow.
But like so many women in jazz who desire to have their music heard in a predominantly male genre, share with our audience the challenges that you've experienced bringing the Jeanette Harris brand to the worldwide market, and also how those challenges have driven you as a musician.
Well, I think in, every industry, unfortunately, females always have a slight challenge. Sometimes people don't want to take it serious or may want it to become something different than what we're trying to make it become. So what I've learned to do is to always respect myself and to expect people to respect me. I demand it. So it's important for promoters and everyone to see I mean business, So I always say stay true, and that's what I do. I stay true to what I believe. I stay true to the respect level that I'm going to give, because I'm also going to give that same respect back to the person. And I think it's how we come across. Sometimes if we're a little too flirty, sometimes if we're a little this and that, hey, come in, be businesslike. And I mean, luckily I've been blessed to not have too many awkward, uncomfortable, or, unfair things happen to me. But I know it does happen. It is a little harder for females because we are looked over sometimes. It's like, oh no, I'm gonna go get Boney James. Why do we want Jeanette when we could get Boney James? But my thing is, I stay true to what I'm doing. I continue to work hard. And I think a lot of people start to see, hey, she means business. When she gets on the stage, she's out there having fun, playing her heart out, and the audience loves her. So I think it's important to build a strong fan base that believes in me. And then I think from the fan base, people start to see, look, people are following her for whatever reason, whether they like my music or not, they're following her. She has a strong following. She has a strong support system. Let's take this lady a little more serious. I just hope that, more females just continue to be very professional in this industry and also continue to fight for what they believe they deserve.
I tell you what, if I had a hat, I'd be taking my hat off to you now. I think that's wonderful. I really do. I think that's wonderful. Now, if I can just because I'm consciously aware of time and that, but again, our research, we're going to have a short answer for this one here, Jeanette, unfortunately. Are we correct that guitarist Norman Brown is the one person that inspired you to want to be a performer when your parents took you to see him at your very first few concerts? I know we're jumping back a little bit at Hanford, California. Apparently, it gave you the chills. Very, very briefly, because I know Kevin wants to jump in with another question. Just tell us about that moment when you saw that concert.
So when I saw the concert, my family knew I was into jazz. So they said, let's take Jeanette to see an actual live jazz concert. And this was, of course, contemporary jazz. I went, long story short, Norman got on stage. He was having so much fun and sounding so good. I said, that's what I want to do right there. And I just had the chills. It was just amazing. And the audience was going crazy. And I said, I want the audience to do that for me too, So it just was very inspiring. Very inspiring.
Brilliant. Well, we know that you've written for Gerald Albright and you've been blessed to perform with him as well at jazz festivals, jazz rooms. You've worked in the United States, Japan, Germany, and good old Blighty, good old UK. You've been over here with us as well. I hope you can understand what we were saying. But
I'll translate, don't worry.
Very quickly, now COVID has affected everything, but what is next for you? We know that you are so busy, you're releasing your cover songs every few days, and that's so people can keep in touch with yourself and that, but what is coming up next for you once we start to see light at the end of the tunnel and COVID starts to disappear?
Well, this was the first year that I actually turned down shows because I wasn't comfortable going out too early. And I could have been out as early as April this month. And I said, you know what? I gave myself a timeline. I said, maybe August, September. I think all artists have to feel very comfortable. We're out there without masks. We're out there with a lot of people. So my safety is always first. So I do have shows coming up as early as August or as late as August. And, you know, I'm just hoping things get better. You know, I really hope people, you know, just everything just starts to get better. So I'm really excited to hit the road again. I don't know if you guys know this about me, but I'm an administrator for an adult care facility. So that is like a day job for me. And that's been keeping me going. It's been, you know, I love my job. I work with individuals with intellectual disabilities. So that is like another love of mine. So luckily, when I couldn't go perform, I was still able to at least do something else like that. And of course, I do perform on YouTube and Facebook every week. So that was my one way of saying, hey, I'm still going to give y'all something. I miss you guys, and just trying to keep people uplifted.
Well, with you performing, I mean, I've often thought it would be really, really clever with you. You did a great Marvin Gaye cover just recently. With you doing a thing, wouldn't it be great with technology if you had Kevin and myself in the background dancing in the background? It would be a fabulous video clip, wouldn't it?
We should do that. I think so.
Well, we've been accused of having matching shirts, and that is not true. So just so you know, he's in Great Britain. I'm in Richmond, Virginia, and so
right.
we never share what we're wearing. It's always a riot. So
right.
Well, I do have one last question, Roger. Do we have time?
We have 10 minutes.
We have 10 minutes. Okay, so I'll be quick, and then Jeanette, it's up to you, girlfriend.
Okay.
What I wanted to ask you about was something that happened in January of 2010, and I'm certain when I say that, that's probably already got you thinking, but while you were attending the annual NAMM show at the Anaheim Convention Center in California, and for our international audience who may not know what NAMM stands for, it's the National Association of Music Merchants, which is tagged as the world's largest trade-only event for music products, pro audio, and event tech technology. But you meet a trumpet player for the Ivory Queen of Soul, Miss Tina Marie.
Yes.
If you would, tell us about your experiences with the late, great, 3-time Grammy Award nominee, Miss Tina Marie.
So, yeah, I met the trumpet player, right? I'm at the NAMM show for the first time in my life. I've been trying to get to that. I don't know if you know, but it's hard to get to the NAMM show.
Lord, yes.
So I finally found a way, and it wasn't like the legal way. Somebody stuck me a ticket. I'm going to just keep it real. And so I was able to get up in there. Yeah, it was real. And so I was able to get in there, and I was like, oh, great. And I really wanted to be endorsed and, you know, just see what the NAMM was about. So I'm walking around and I'm running into all my friends, all my favorite people. Jeanette, and one of my old teachers from Fresno was there. And he said, Jeanette, why don't you come on over to this saxophone booth over here, because I want you to meet the people. They're looking for people to endorse. I think you're great. Let's go. And so I said, sure. And of course I had my mouthpiece and all that good stuff. Started playing. They wanted to endorse me right there on the spot. I said, great. It was unison saxophone. So as I'm playing, saxophone, as I'm playing, the trumpeter comes over, Ty G, and he says, hey, you sound good. Let me get your info. I may have a gig for you. And I said, okay, sure. And so long story short, he didn't give me a lot of information, but when I got home from NAMM the next day, which was a Sunday, he called me late at night, really late. And he said, hey, can you be in LA tomorrow to audition for Tina Marie's band? I said, sure. I said, sure. I was tired, but I said, yeah, I can do it. And so I drove early that morning, and on my way, I got a call from Tina Marie trying to get my passport information. And so long story short, I got there. I had to do a short audition. Tina Marie loved me. She was excited that I was a female saxophonist. She started off with Pamela Williams, and, you know, then here comes Jeanette Harris at the end. And I tell you what, Tina Marie and I had a blast. She featured me like on almost every other song, and she had me playing flute. I was like, I didn't even know I could play flute, but Tina brought it out of me.
I didn't know you could either, honest, till you said that.
Yeah,
Really?
I didn't play. I had a flute, but I wasn't a flute player. You know, I would play some on my CDs, but they were just background parts. She literally had the spotlight on me, like on the flute even. So she was just such an amazing person. And I was so blessed to be able to tour with Tina Marie. Of course, she passed away. I miss her so much. But those were, you know, that 1 year was an amazing year touring with Tina Marie. It was awesome.
Well, you've also performed as side musician with the wonderful Howard Hewitt. I actually worked with Howard Hewitt myself. When he was with Shalimar, and I introduced them when they were on tour around the UK. Denise Williams, you opened shows with guests ranging from the Rippingtons, Kurt Whalum, Ed Neji, R&B stars Babyface, Phil Perry, and Kem. And now, Kem, you got a standing ovation from Kem. And apparently some of his people turned around and went, he never does that, but he did it for you. I mean,
yeah, I was shocked because Kim was really particular. Like, he doesn't like people and the like when he's doing sound check, he wants everyone out. So they asked us to leave, you know, because we were gonna do ours after his. And I was like, oh gosh, maybe he don't like me much. I don't know what's going on here. And I, as you know, now that I'm a professional, I get it. They want to concentrate. They want it quiet. They don't want a lot of people recording all of the pre stuff. But, you know, back then I was like, oh my gosh, what's going on? So when I did the show, I mean, my brother, myself, and the bass player, Patrick Alvera, we were up there kicking butt. Like, we just brought it. I said, let's go, guys. And I tell you what, the audience jumped on their feet. I was kind of surprised because this was more of an R&B crowd. So we were doing smooth jazz, contemporary jazz, and they was loving it. So at the end, Kim came out and he was like, look, girl, you bad, you know? And we got a picture together and I said, okay, cool. That was hot. So it's always nice when you have people that you admire actually tell you, great job, keep it up. Yeah. And you know, as I try to do the same now that I'm older, and I'm like, let me make sure I support the young people doing good stuff.
Well, we certainly admire and we love you, Jeanette, but unfortunately time doesn't, because time has beaten us. We can't thank you enough. Thank you so much for joining us here. Jazz Across Pond. Ladies and gentlemen, the wonderful Jeanette Harris. Say good night, Kevin.
Good night, Kevin.
Good night from him. From everybody at Jazz Across the Pond, Jazz Interviews Reimagined. Thank you so much for joining us. Stay safe. Next week, the wonderful Roger Smith from Tower of Power will be joining us for an interview. From everybody here, look after yourselves and stay safe. Bye-bye.